everybody, this is Jessica the Book Rock Goddess and
Jade Artistic Word Lash.
And we are here to film our favorites for 2012.
The year.
Okay, so I'm going to let her go first because mine's in categories, and so I'll let her go.
Okay. I have... Okay. I read Melissa Walker's Love Struck Summer. And this is one of the books that I've been buying, slowly collecting. The ones with the just cartoon covers without people or anything on them. And this one was really good. It really appealed to me because of the music aspect, and it was about rock music and stuff like that, and indie music, and I really enjoyed it. And there's a little love going on, and the man's a real hottie, so I like that one. I read Hunted by DJ Dissumter. I bought this last year, and I got it mainly because of the trees on the front cover. It's blue and has black trees all over the place, but it's about werewolves. And it was, not only was it good, but it was hilarious. And Mom, you really need to read it. It doesn't take very long.
I'm going to.
It's really funny.
I think I'm gonna have a werewolf
cute,
month.
Very cute.
Where I just read books about werewolves. Sorry guys, I'm trying to adjust everything.
I also read The Secret Sisterhood of Heartbreakers, and when I heard about this book, I thought it was going to be totally different, wasn't going to be about what it was, and then I watched the video for it, and I was like, I ran upstairs and was like, Mom, we gotta have this book, and then she goes, okay, well then she goes, yeah, I want it too. She ordered it on Barnes & Nobles when it came in the mail, and then I read it probably about a couple months ago, and I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah, I gotta read that one too.
Okay. Now, this is probably one of my favorite juvenile books that I read for the year, and it's Whatever After Fairest of All. It was so cute. I loved it. I loved the whole story on Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and it was funny. It was short, but I feel like it was enough to be its own good book. So, and I have the second one to read this year, so.
Yeah, I think I'm going to save the ones that she's got for Misty, the Book Rat's Fairy Tale Fortnight, and then just get caught up on them.
So good. Yeah, okay. So I have Leaving Paradise by Simone Alcalez. I did love this book. I loved the whole relationship between the two people, how it went from sour to sweet, and I loved the man's, what is his name? Caleb. Yeah, Caleb. Caleb's love for not only Maggie, but for his sister and what he did for his sister and everything else. So it's a really touching story, and I cried when I found out. Because it kind of reminds me of how I am with my brother, even though he's so much younger than me. We're so close, and I'd do that for him too. The Fairy Path, I love this book as well. I hated fairy novels. I despised them. And this made me love them. So, I can't wait to read the rest. I did order them towards the end of the year last year. This was one of my top contenders for being my favorite, but it wasn't. It's Forgive My Friends by Tara Lynn Childs. I loved this book. It was so good. We're going to do another video on the characters and everything that we love, and these ones are going to be in there somewhere. I did love Between the Sea and Sky by Jacqueline Dolmier. I heard that it wasn't as good as her other one for Magic Under Glass, but I figured because everybody said it wasn't as good, I wouldn't disappoint myself and read it that way. I'd read this one first and then read Magic Under Glass. And because I did that, I think that's why I love this book so much. I loved the whole story, so nothing of it disappointed me. I loved it. Yeah. And this was probably my favorite graphic novel of the year, and it was Rapunzel's Revenge. I do need to get the second one, Calamity Jack, and it was really good. I like the story of Rapunzel, and this one she's just totally BA, so I liked it a lot. And the pictures are just really pretty, and it's like Western style, so Western style Rapunzel. And then Anna and the French Kiss, of course. Everybody loves this book. I do love this book. And I think I liked it more than Lola and the Boy Next Door. I did like it more than Lola and the Boy Next Door. I think Lola and the Boy Next Door kind of annoyed me. But I did love this book, and I gave it a 5 out of 5, obviously, but it's still not my favorite. I'll show you my favorite now. My 2 favorites. This is my favorite number 2. This was my runner-up to my favorite. It was Lauren Oliver's Delirium. I love this book. Now, I do understand when people say that it was kind of a slow get to, but after a while I stopped reading the little excerpts before the chapters, and then I decided to read those after because I realized reading those kind of was making it boring. But then once I skipped that, this whole book was amazing. So, yeah, so I love that book. And I have to read Requiem, but I'm not reading it. I mean, what is it? Pandemonium. And I'm not going to read that until I get Requiem that comes out this year. So
Yeah, because
I can't
crazy.
just because she's big cliffhanger. She likes her cliffhangers. So
Yes, she does.
I'm not going to do that till I have the 3rd book. And then this was my number 1 for the year, and it was Poison Study by Maria V. Schneider. She has easily become my favorite author of my life, and I want everybody to read this. And Mom is supposed to read it. It was her book, but because I loved it so much, I went out and bought the 3rd book, and then I bought the rest of her books and all her other series too.
Or my top books are in categories. My first category that I picked was adult fantasy. My ultimate adult fantasy book for the year that I read was, of course, A Perfect Blood by Kim Harrison. And I believe she only has 2 books left or 3 books left in the series. And I'm going to be so sad when it's over. But it was so freaking good.
That series has started when I was little.
Yes, and it's making me antsy to figure out if she does the right thing with my characters. Okay, next was contemporary. I totally was not a fan of contemporary until this year. I read some of the best contemporary books I have ever read this year. The first being Love and Leftovers. Totally freaking fantastic. It was in verse. I've never even been a fan of verse books, and this one was just freaking fantastic. It's by Sarah Tregay, and I absolutely loved it. And then it was Pushing the Limits by Katie McGarry, and I know a lot of you know what Pushing the Limits is, and it was just an amazing.
It was really good. We read it together.
Yes, it was an amazing contemporary novel. By far, one of the best I've ever read, hands down. But my all-time favorite for the year that actually made me feel every emotion that you could possibly feel. I cried, I laughed. I was just blown away by this book, and I think the emotional content just grabs your heart and won't let go. And that is Sing Me to Sleep by Angelina Morrison. And it is absolutely phenomenal. It is heartbreaking. It is inspirational. It is just so flipping, moving. I can't say enough good things about this book.
She bought it for me because of Beauty and the Beast type of play on type of thing.
I read it. I fell in love with it. And
then she bought it for me.
Oh my gosh. But anyways, my next are kind of like retellings. I had quite a few retellings that I read this year. One of my favorites, of course, everybody knows I love Pride and Prejudice. So, and anything Jane Austen. And one of my favorites this year was Persuade Me, which is a take, not on Pride and Prejudice, but on Jane Austen's book. And why am I drawing a blank? What is,
Persuade Me?
It's Persuasion. Oh, God. It's a take on Persuasion, and it's by Juliet Archer, and it was fantastic. I loved it. And then I read my favorite retelling of the year. This was Pride and Prejudice retelling, and it was The Duff, The Designated Fat Friend. Ugly Fat Friend, sorry. It was awesome. I love this book. I didn't know what it was, and I'm kind of sad because I could have read this a lot sooner, but this will be a book that I reread over and over. It was awesome. I loved it. Then I read, okay, my sci-fi. I only wrote down 2 sci-fi. I could have easily put 3 or 4. but I only have 2 that I wrote down, and it was kind of a toss-up between those 2 because these 2 were my absolute favorites. And that was A Long, Long Sleep by the book is awesome. It's a retelling of Sleeping Beauty. It's just great. And then my absolute favorite sci-fi of the year was Cinder. And this is a retelling of Cinderella, and it was phenomenal. Anybody who read that knows I haven't read any bad reviews on this book. It was awesome. It was absolutely genius. It was just amazing. And this is by Marissa Meyer, and I loved it. And then my dystopian is let's see. Destiny's Fire by Trisha Wolfe. It was awesome. And then Pandemonium. She read Delirium, got me on Delirium, then we got Pandemonium, and you want to talk about an awesome cliffhanger? Pandemonium had an awesome cliffhanger. Just amazing. So that leaves me with my last dystopian. I just absolutely loved it. It's about a world that now chocolate and coffee's been outlawed, and she's kind of like the mafia daughter of chocolate. It's not gambling, it's not drugs, it's not anything. It's chocolate. Which is kind of weird when you think about it, but
I say it's a better society than now.
Oh, it's just an amazing book. You guys, if you haven't read it, you're missing out. You should check that out. And then last but not last, but my favorite series of the 2012 was Star-Crossed by Rachel Higginson. And she doesn't have her books published. They're actually ebooks, but it's just a fantastic series. It's magical, it's adventurous, it's Star-Crossed series by Rachel Higginson.
Is that the one like the magic something or whatever? The one that Noni made?
Yes. My girlfriend suggested it, and it did not disappoint. I loved it. It was amazing.
The one with the pretty covers?
Yeah, they have good covers on the ebooks. I don't know what they'll look like in if they're published. Then the series I started and I'm still working on is Covenant series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. It's Greek mythology with a bunch of twists, and it's just really, really good. I loved it. It is awesome. And I think I'm currently on the 3rd book in the series, and I'm trying to take it slow because her 4th book is just now came out, and I think the book's going to be 5 or 6 long, so I'm not sure. So my next book, my series favorite for the year, and I finished it this year, was the Tiger's Curse series by Colleen Houck, and I love these books. Everything about them, the adventure, the romance, the twist, I cannot speak more highly of this series. Colleen Houck actually must have done tons and tons of research into the Indian culture, and just everything. You could almost picture it in your head. You could almost taste the things she was talking about, the foods, the smells. This series is just phenomenal. You guys really should check it out if you haven't. And last but not least, my overall favorite of the year. And my overall favorite ends up being 2. And I know I do this every year where I can't decide between a couple of books. And this year it was absolutely hard. One that I read actually at the very beginning of the year that I was absolutely in love with, and then the second one I read at the end of the year, which is really funny. The first book I read at the beginning of the year was Scarlet by A.G. I want to say her name is Goggin. Goggin?
It's AC Goggin.
Goggin, yeah. But it's just absolutely freaking amazing. Scarlet is, Red Scarlet is a female instead of a male. And everything that goes on in this book is just great. It's a great retelling of Robin Hood. I hope she decides to turn this into a series. If not, it was a great standalone, but it would be a fantastic series. I absolutely love this series. Anybody who is a fan of Robin Hood or just adventure in itself should check this out.
Yeah, it gets you going.
It's really good. Anyways, this last book, and because this video is running so long, is Grave Mercy. And that is my absolute, these two are absolutely phenomenal books. This is by Robin Lefevers. And I knew this book would be good, but I didn't know how good it would be. And I am absolutely in love with this book, in love with this world. And I kind of read the preview for the next book, and I'm kind of worried because the next book doesn't have her as the main character or the male as the main male lead. But it still sounds really good, and I'm hoping she ties them in together, because this was just a phenomenal series, and it had so many historical elements to it with the fantasy interwoven that it just made it for such a believable story, even though it had all this fantasy wrapped around it. I mean, really, the handmaidens of death, and they see death and all these things, but it almost seemed real when you were reading it because of all the factual historical stuff that went with it. So it's just a great book. I loved it. You guys should check it out. Any of the books that I've said for my 2012 are just amazing. They were all great reads. You wouldn't be disappointed with any of them. So that's my favorite. That's her favorite. And we will be back with another video of our favorite characters.